Hey guys, it's Mr. Mini Painter and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I painted Spoiler from the Batman Gotham City Chronicles game by Monolith, which is an absolute delight to paint. Those miniatures, they are beautiful. And I'm kind of closing in on the end of the good guys box, if you know what I mean. There's the heroes and the villains. And Spoiler is one of the last I have painted from this box. And what I love about this miniature is that it has this vibrant purplish pink colors that can be a pain in the ass to paint, but I'm going to show you an easy technique that I used for building up those different contrast layers from dark to bright. Further on, it's quite an easy model as it does not have any many colors actually. It's just some black and gray tones and purple pink tones, but still it can be a challenge to paint her. So I'm going to show you how I painted Spoiler, and I hope this video is of any help to you guys. So spoiler alert, we're going to paint Spoiler. This is such a bad joke. Anyway, I primed the model in a light gray primer. I'm starting with the skin tones, and for that I'm using Night Questor Flesh. There is just a tiny part of face showing here, so it's only the top half, the rest is hidden below a mask, and she's wearing gloves. So basically this is it. Next up, I'm using Palette Witch Flesh to paint in the eyes. I like to do so earlier on in this process, because if you make a mistake you can just go over it with the previous color. Tried to paint in a pupil with some Abaddon black. I was kind of satisfied. And next we're going to be highlighting the face with some Kislev Flesh. First make some outlines on the top of the nose, the eyebrows, etc. And then thin down your paint and kind of blend those colors together with the previous layer. I'm using XV88 as a base color for the hair. There's this tiny blonde lock coming out from under the hood. We're going to be highlighting the blonde with some Averland Sunset, focusing on the top parts and picking out some strands of hair here and there. The top should be the brightest, of course. And leave the bottom as it is. Next step, we're going to be shading that with some Seraphim Sepia. Now thin it down to a 50-50 consistency and kind of cover all the hair to blend those colors together. And once done, we're going to give it an extreme highlight with some Flesh Gids Yellow. But only the tiny parts on the top and the very tips of the locks dangling below. And we're going to take it one tiny step further by using Dorn Yellow and decreasing the area that we paint, so kind of dot the very top as an extreme highlight here. It's a very subtle detail, but it's what makes these miniatures look so more realistic. Then for all the black armor parts, including the mask, I'm using Black Legion. You can use Abaddon Black, for example, but this is a lot quicker, easier, get some shades and highlights in an instant. Brush stroke, which saves a lot of time. Again, you can still use base paints, for example, the Abaddon Black or Corvus Black, but it's basically up to you. I'm using Xerius Purple as a base color for all the purple parts. So that's the gloves, the cloak, the boots, of course, and finally the cloak. Then with some Druchii Violet, I'm painting some shade all over the purple parts that we painted before. That way you get some nice shades in there, and you can easily define the darker and the brighter parts. Make sure that you don't get any puddles left, so spread that paint around until it's evenly spread all across your model. Next we're going to be highlighting the cloak with a mixture of Galvorbeck Red and Emperor's Children. Making it a bit more pinkish, which is a beautiful color, and because we used the purple before, you get some cartoony color buildup, which I really love. We're using this combination all over the pink and purpley parts, but focusing mainly on the front and leaving the back and the shaded areas darker. For the next step, I'm increasing the Emperor's Children part into a mixture to create a natural transition from dark to bright. You can do so in 2 or maybe 3 steps, just until you're satisfied and you can end up with pure Emperor's Children. Now for the front of this miniature, I'm focusing only on those top raised areas. I would imagine the light coming from slightly above, maybe sunlight, so you should focus on the parts that are visible from that angle and highlight those. I'm doing the same with some pure Emperor's Children now, focusing on just the very top of the model and the parts that would reflect the most light. So give that cloak an edge highlight, focus on the shoulders, the top of the cloak, the top of the chest, the arms, the hands, the feet, etc. All the black armor I'm highlighting with some Mechanicus Standard Grey. That's the knee cap pads here, some straps around the legs, but also the side of the leg. I'm kind of adding some highlight there as well, and wet blend that, so kind of make your paint, thin it down to a shade consistency, and then blend those colors together just a little bit, but make sure that the definition, the separation of colors is still very well visible though, so don't go too thick and don't smear it all together in one color, because we want that dark and bright really popping. I'm doing the same with some Administratum Grey as a highlight to the previously painted grey, but focusing only on the very top areas and some edge highlights here and there. And using the same process, so make sure you outline the part that you want to be the brightest, thin down your paint, and kind of blend that with the previous color. When blending, always pull your paint towards the brightest part. That way your transition is beautiful. Then with some gray cere, I'm painting the batons or weapon sticks or whatever they are called. I'm highlighting that with some white scar, focusing on probably about the last third of the stick and the very end. When given a highlight, focus on the parts that also here would reflect the most light. Now it's time for the base. Mechanica Standard Gray as a base color. Once this is dry, I'm shading that with some Nuln Oil, so to really make those cracks appear once again. And I'm gonna dirty up the base a little bit by adding some extra color. Just adding some dabs of Agric Earthshade here and there, and kind of blend that with the wet Nuln Oil. You can add some extra colors if you want. Once dry, I'm using a large dry brush and some gray cere to really make those cracks appear, focusing on the bright parts on the front. And a little bit on the back. And here's the final result for Spoiler. I'm painting a lot of these videos on my Patreon page, so make sure to check it out if you're interested in these kind of videos, as you will find a lot more there. And also a lot earlier than some of them would hit the YouTube channel. Now, if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing on my channel and leave a comment, because I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was of any help to you, and see you in the next one. Bye bye!